wanna talk? So let's talk. Yeah. Talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk.
Welcome back. Talk to Solomon time. I'm Stan Solomon, my co-host,
Chief Steve.
former Police Chief Steve Davis, and my other co-host, Brent Johnson. Brent, say hello.
Hi there, Brent Johnson here in the Southern Hemisphere.
In the Southern Hemisphere. All right. Speaking of the Southern Hemisphere, our guest, Mark Kirkorian. He's for the Center for Immigration Studies. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm in the Northern Hemisphere, actually.
Okay, and I'm in the cerebral hemisphere, but that's all right. That's the left hemisphere, by the way, for those of you in your right mind. Let me ask you, Mark. Brett wakes up on occasion. You just heard him. All right. Mark, let me ask you, how big an issue, in your opinion, will this partial amnesty of now what appears to be around 2 million illegals now being told they will not be deported and can apply for legal status. How big an issue will that be for A, our economy, B, this election, C, the attitude of people in this country?
Well, for the economy, it's actually kind of a big deal because we're talking about adding as many as 2 million workers all at once into the labor force. We have 8+% unemployment. And in fact, it's only that low because so many people have dropped out of the labor market, they don't even count them anymore for unemployment. Unemployment means you're actually looking for work. If you give up, they don't count you anymore. So we're in a pretty dire employment situation, and we are adding, like I said, up to 2 million extra people who are now going to be able to legally work. That's just bad news economically. I'm afraid, though, politically, it doesn't become an issue unless at least one candidate in an election makes it an issue, and unless the Republican leadership, in this case, makes it an issue when they talk about it on the Sunday TV talk shows. And, Governor Romney and Congressman Ryan talk about it in their stump speeches, and none of that's likely to happen. So it's probably not going to have the political legs, the political traction that it could have.
Let me ask you, unemployment in the black community, real unemployment is almost 25%. Unemployment in the country is around 20%. People that don't have jobs, whether they're looking or not. The net worth has declined markedly, not double digits, but we're talking almost half of the net worth of everyone in this country has been lost since the ascendancy of Barack Obama to the presidency. I think the economy is the issue. There are many other issues, but that is the issue. And these 2 million people are going to be now able to collect benefits. Am I right or wrong?
Well, it depends. So some benefits they're not going to be able to collect. Some they are. So it's definitely going to increase that to a degree, not to the degree that it would have if they'd actually gotten green cards, because this is a kind of amnesty light. It's still amnesty in the sense that they get to legally stay, they get work cards, they get Social Security numbers, but it's still a kind of limbo status so that there's a limit on what they can get benefits-wise. But they can all compete for jobs with American workers, and it's the less skilled workers and young workers among Americans and minorities who are having the most trouble in this economy, and they're going to be competing with these hundreds of thousands of new people in the labor market.
Now, it's been said, and I'd like you, since this is your area of expertise, that for all practical purposes, the United States has decreased border enforcement to the point that we're not really enforcing the border anymore. Is that true?
Well, no, I don't think so. We are, in fact, doing a better job now than we used to. Even under Obama, who obviously would rather just not have any border enforcement, but he understands that's not possible. And we have put in place better enforcement than we had, say, 10 or 12 years ago. The problem is, number one, it's still not adequate, and the administration is pointing to their efforts at the border as somehow complete, that we've done everything we need to at the border, when in fact, the Border Patrol, even after the increases under Clinton and Bush, even now the Border Patrol has fewer people than the New York Police Department. That's the whole Border Patrol, not just even on the Mexican border. That's everywhere. Fewer people than the NYPD. So the idea that we're somehow adequately patrolling our borders is just false. We're not doing nothing. That would be going too far. But we are not doing nearly enough.
Now, Representative Poe from Texas, Ted Poe, is started, if you will, a campaign to say, hey, when people commit crimes in this country, they're here illegally, they're jailed for their crimes. When they get done with their jail terms, the countries they came from, be it Mexico or Guatemala or Peru or Zambia for that matter, are refusing to take them back, and we're stuck with these people that have now served their time. Are you familiar with this issue?
Yeah, we're definitely having that problem. Now, there's two categories. Some countries just refuse on principle. They just won't take anybody back, period. And in that case, it seems to me, well, you know, nobody from your country gets to come here. I mean, it's just we stop giving visas. We don't do that. There are other countries that don't have a blanket ban, but they basically do what they can to slow walk any paperwork, to drag it out and make it difficult. And again, you know, we have some muscle here. If you're, say, Jamaica does this a lot. We need to tell Jamaica, look, you either have to work with us expeditiously on taking back your own people, or we're going to have to take some measures. Stop issuing visas to anybody from your country, that kind of thing. And we're not, the State Department isn't interested in doing that because they don't really care about immigration policy. They care about currying favor with these foreign governments, and so they don't want to be, short with them.
Brent?
Oh, yeah. I'm very familiar with you just mentioned and Representative Poe's position on it, which is exactly what was said, that what Poe is saying is that, look, you're not going to take back people to their own country. We should just stop issuing visas. I would go even further. Like you said, Stan, I'm further to the right than you. I would go even further. Somebody commits a crime here who is not a citizen, okay, they get deported. They get put on a plane, they get sent back and dropped off on the runway of the country of their origin. I don't care if their country doesn't want them, let their country throw them out. It's not my job, it's not my country's job to throw them out or to provide them with any kind of place to be having committed a crime. I've been all over the world, and one of the things that are required before you can get any kind of an extended visa in every country I've been to is you got to get a police report showing that you're not a criminal. You have to do that. You know, obviously the U.S. doesn't require that. But my attitude is we shouldn't even get the approval of these foreign countries. These people came from some other they committed a crime, boom, dump them back in the other country, let the other country's government deal with them.
All right. I like that, except I wouldn't land the plane. I would just kind of fly low over the runway. Chief?
Yeah, I like that idea. Just to drop them at a kind of a slow speed would be okay. But let's also not, I agree with all those comments, by the way, from both of our guests, but also let's not forget that for the illegals that were given this partial amnesty and for all of the illegals that are more than illegal that are here, it's taken millions of government employees to process their paperwork and to monitor their status, and all those employees are paid for with government or taxpayers' money, so it's cost us more money for the government employees as well to monitor those people as it would just to not have them here at all.
All right, now let me ask you, please.
And I have one other point I'd like to add, if I may. The thing that hasn't been mentioned yet is this amnesty thing sets a precedent. It sets a political precedent to provide easier access for future and more extensive amnesties.
No question.
It's the boiling the frog syndrome.
Brent,
we'll do it a little bit here, we'll do it more
Brent,
later.
you're breaking up rather badly. We're going to disconnect and call you back because right now we're only getting every other word. So they'll take care of that. Mark, you've heard some of these comments. Obviously, there are a lot of people concerned. Are we losing the fight against illegal immigration in this country?
Well, I wouldn't say we're losing it. I mean, I'm always optimistic, but we're certainly in the middle of it. Let me put it that way. Maybe we're even in a kind of battle of the bulge stage, where things are looking pretty bad. I think ultimately I'm actually pretty optimistic, but there's no question this administration, while it hasn't, it can't politically pull the plug on enforcement altogether, that's clearly what they would like to do, and they are doing as much of that as they can get away with. And the comment about this setting a precedent for future unilateral amnesties is very true. The president, remember, this wasn't an amnesty Congress voted on. Congress is who's supposed to make laws. Sometimes they make stupid laws, but that's what the Constitution gives them the responsibility to do. This was the president basically saying to Congress, look, I asked for this, you didn't give it to me, so to heck with you. I'm ignoring Article 1 of the Constitution, and I'm just enacting this into law, in effect, by myself. This is a constitutional problem that actually goes beyond even immigration. Because, look, what would prevent, say, a President Romney a couple of years from now from just saying, look, I can't get Congress to abolish the capital gains tax, so I'm just going to do it on my own by telling the IRS not to prosecute people who don't pay the capital gains tax. I mean, the leftists don't even get the danger of this precedent for them.
Well, well said, and you know what? From your mouth to God's ear, and then to President Romney, because that would be a great idea from my perspective. It might serve notice on them that either we all play by the rules or none of us have to play by the rules.
The problem, of course, is, that, and this is what the left often banks on, is that conservatives actually honor the Constitution and don't want to trash it, and so those who want to trash it often can get away with it knowing that there's not likely to be retaliation. That's a real systemic problem we have in dealing with a progressive movement that thinks the Constitution itself is passé and out of date and doesn't have to be obeyed anymore.
Well, you said progressive and think in the same sentence. I think you were in error. But let me go to the next step. Chief, you have another?
Just a quick comment that the Republicans often treat these issues with kid gloves instead of boxing gloves like they should be doing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because the president couldn't get away with this amnesty that's starting tomorrow, that he unilaterally issued by fiat, by decree, if Congress just said, look, we're not going to allow you to spend any money in the DHS budget to enact this policy. Congress has complete control of the purse string. The problem is, like you said, Republicans are afraid of issues that deal with ethnicity and race, and the Democrats in Congress, frankly, are willing to, they believe that the end justifies the means, and if trashing the Constitution gets them an objective that they want, a policy objective, they're okay with that.
All right. Well, again, no one can argue that, at least on this show. Let's go back to the reality. Now, my idea of reality and other people's idea of reality may vary some, but this is your area of focus. If I were to say there are, give or take, 20 million people in this country illegally, would you say I am way off, reasonably close, or underestimate?
Yeah, no, I think that's too high. I mean, there are people who have come up with estimates like that, but our estimate is probably more like 11 or 12 million. And the reason, it could be 13, maybe we're wrong, but I don't think it's possible for it to be as much as 20 because we know more or less the age and sex breakdown of illegal immigrants. And so if there were that many more, say twice as many illegals as we thought, you would see a lot more deaths and births than we're getting. And nobody dies or is born in the United States, in a modern country like this, without it being recorded. And so if there really were 20 million or however many more illegal immigrants, you'd be able to see it in the data. I mean, I'm pretty confident that 11 or 12, maybe even 13 is the right number. And you know what? If it were 20 million, I think you'd have all kinds of people who'd say, okay, well, look, we've lost this. Let's just amnesty them and start from scratch.
I think we did that once under Reagan. It didn't accomplish anything.
It didn't work. No, it didn't.
All right. Brent, you're back with us?
Yeah, I don't know how well it is or anything. It seems to be an internet connectivity issue.
All right.
Okay.
All right, good. I'm glad you're back. All right, let me take the next step, and let's talk about the election. There are many people that vote, although they're not legally allowed to vote. Of course, some of them are dead. Some of them have split personalities. We know all that. But we are seeing an out-and-out assault by this administration, by the Justice Department, with no apologies, to attack anything and everything that would allow us, being the people of this country, to know who is and who is not voting and who should and who should not be voting. They're fighting voter ID. They're fighting purging the rolls. They're doing the whole 9 yards. Have you looked at that at all?
We've looked at it a little bit, and our part of that issue is not so much the dead people voting and what have you, but the part that a lot of states have tried to get to do is to check their rolls against the Homeland Security immigration list, so that they can identify people who are not citizens or appear not to be citizens. And the states, what they're saying is, look, some of these people may have gotten citizenship, since we learned about them or got their name. We want to verify one way or the other, are they also allowed to vote or not? And the Obama administration resisted for a long time and finally was forced to comply and work with the states on this. And they're still, I think, resisting. I'm not sure, because this happened relatively recently, where they were ordered to work with the states and help them check the names that they had. See, the thing here is not even so much that there's lots of non-citizens who are intentionally voting in order, knowing that they're not allowed to. What you have is a lot, especially, and this is especially true with Mexican immigrants. Almost all Mexican immigrants come here illegally. Virtually every Mexican immigrant started out as an illegal alien. There's a few exceptions, but very few. And so if an illegal immigrant from Mexico somehow gets legalized, they get a green card, they're still not citizens, but they're legal, they sort of think that that means they're now citizens. These aren't very educated people. They think they're citizens because they're now legal, and they go to the driver's license place, the DMV, to get their license, and they register to vote. And so you end up with lots of people essentially accidentally voting illegally, and the real fault here is our system of making sure we protect our voting rolls is not very sound, because the Democrats want to make sure more non-citizens vote.
Chief?
Well, I don't know if it's accidental or not, because they're certainly filing tax returns, not by accident, and getting thousands and thousands of dollars back for children they don't even have. So I'm not sure it's accidental that they're making those votes.
Well, I mean, I have no doubt that there's some people who are intentionally doing it, but I think a lot of times what you're seeing, like I said, is unsophisticated people who thought that the way you become a citizen is you go from being an illegal alien to getting a green card. They think it's citizenship. And so it seems to me the fault, obviously, in people intentionally voting illegally. Those people should be locked up. But the real fault is on us, that we have allowed this Swiss cheese voter registration system to continue and not done everything we can to preserve the integrity of the ballot.
I agree with you, except I go one step further. Everyone who gets a green card is contacted by the Democrat Party in their area and told that they can vote.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen evidence of that. It wouldn't surprise me if it happened, but I haven't seen that.
Well, actually, there was a big story about that in fact did happen. And in fact, one lady who was running for office announced, you don't have to be a citizen in order to vote. She was caught saying it.
Right.
This was in 2010, wasn't this year, it was 2010, that it was a lady, a Democrat, who was saying to people, talking to illegals or people with green cards, go register to vote. And then she said, well, I didn't tell them they could vote, I just told them to register to vote.
Well, even that's illegal, though. I mean, registering if you're a non-citizen is also prohibited.
All right, let's go to the next step, and that is violence. Many people say, and I've heard all kinds of figures, over 1/3 or over 1/2 of the prisoners in this country, in the federal system, are illegals that have committed violent crimes. Whatever the numbers, we know that disproportionate to their percentages of this country, crimes are committed by illegals. Is that a fair statement?
At the federal level, that's true. Something like a quarter of the people in federal prisons are. But part of the reason is federal law mainly focuses on immigration violations and on drug trafficking. At the state level, which is where most prisoners are, the disproportion isn't that great. Actually, because the FBI really doesn't want to know all that much about whether immigrants are more or less likely to commit crimes, the quality of the data is so bad. We did a report on this. It's so bad that you really can't say definitively. There's evidence to suggest immigrants overall are not more likely to commit crime, and then there's other evidence that suggests immigrants are in fact significantly more likely to commit crimes. But my question is, why are we measuring that to Americans? These are foreigners that we're letting in. None of them should be committing crimes. I mean, if one of them is committing a crime, that's one too many, because we shouldn't be letting anybody in who's going to be engaged in criminality.
Well, of course, you've heard the Obama administration said the only illegals we have to worry about are those who have committed crimes, so they're going to focus their efforts, they say, on getting deported those who have committed serious crimes. You've heard that?
Yes. And, this is something we've been hearing for years and years, even before the Obama administration, about let's make sure we get people, finishing their sentences, non-citizens, so we can throw them out of the country. And that's good. I'm all for that. The thing, though, is that this administration, there's two issues. One is when they say that, they only mean people who have been convicted of crimes. So you have to actually rape or murder somebody before they consider you dangerous enough to deport, instead of people that the cops know perfectly well are bad guys. It's just they haven't graduated to actually being convicted yet. And then the other issue is that even if they really are getting out criminals in some large numbers, what they're saying is that violating immigration law isn't that important, that it's like not wearing your seatbelt. And if they stop you for something else, they'll write you a ticket for being an illegal alien or throw you out for it. But until you rape or murder somebody, they're not going to pay any attention to whether you're illegal or not. And that's no way to enforce a body of law.
And that, by the way, Mexico doesn't do that by any stretch. Brent, you have a comment here?
Yeah, I do. The California Constitution originally was 1849. In 1879, they revived the Constitution. They had a new vote on it, and they changed it. The people who voted in 1879 were imported from Spain and other foreign countries. They were not citizens under the 1849 Constitution, and then voted to change the Constitution. My point being, this political tactic, has been going on for almost 150 years, that they bring in people who are not eligible to vote, then as gratitude, those people vote for the provisions of the people who bring them in or who allow them to be here. It is a high crime under the Constitution, and frankly, the president should be impeached over his position on this.
Steve?
There are two ways the left uses immigration to its benefit. One is what you're talking about, importing people who will vote for them, vote for bigger government, vote for higher taxes, etc. But the other thing that's actually more immediate is that by importing lots of immigrants, before they ever get to vote, even if they never go to vote, they make economic and social conditions worse, increase poverty, increase lack of health insurance, increase the gap between rich and poor, that then the left points to and says, wow, look at how bad these problems are. You need to vote for us because we need more government to solve these bad problems that evil capitalist Republicans have caused, when in fact they have helped exacerbate these problems. 80% of the growth in the uninsured population over the past 10 years is immigrants and their kids living at home.
Amazing.
This is a problem driven by immigration policy, and yet nobody is focusing on that.
Amazing. Steve?
I'm just thinking about all of the people that would like to immigrate here to the United States from other countries that are not attached to the United States, like Japan or Korea or somewhere in England or somewhere like that. And they're being disenfranchised by allowing Mexicans, for example, to walk across the border. And on the other part of that, we mentioned how they're not very smart because they even actually register to vote without knowing what they're doing. So we're not getting the type of immigrants that we'd like to have some type of skills or abilities that will help the United States. But this should all be geared towards people that want to come here and become Americans and support the Constitution, not just come here and break our laws.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, look at the, as far as the education thing goes, immigrants are 3 times more likely to be high school dropouts than Americans. Among illegal immigrants, the majority of them are. And, this is not something that works, even though 100 years ago it may have worked. Because if you had a 3rd grade education, you came to America 100 years ago, well, Americans didn't have much education either. And we had an industrial economy and still a significant agricultural economy. So there were the kinds of jobs that people with little education but a strong back could succeed in. We don't live in that world anymore, and so what we're doing is importing a new underclass.
All right, we're just about out of time. Mark, give people information about how to follow your work, please.
We're online at cis.org. That's cis.org. All of our publications are there, and we just did a big compendium for people who like numbers, a big profile of the immigrant population, all kinds of things, welfare use, numbers, you name it, we have it in there. And for people who like numbers, it's a treasure trove.
Thank you so much. You do great work. We appreciate you taking the time to be on our show. We look forward to having you back sometime in the future.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more right here on Talk to Solomon. Bob Beaupre, former member of Congress, former candidate for governor in the great state of Colorado. Stay tuned. Do you have a cell phone? I do. In fact, everyone I know does. There's only one problem with cell phones. They're too damn high. You remember that guy. With me is Ted Williams, one of America's experts on cell phones, and a guy who's been responsible, along with his company, for hundreds of thousands of people saving money on cell phones. Ted, thank you for joining us. Talk to us.
Well, I tell you, Stan, right now, every dollar a person can save is a dollar earned. I'm telling you, in this economy, the price of gas and the unsure situation with employment, our business is tailor-made, and our cell phone packages are tailor-made to help everyone out.
All right, let's state a few facts. Unlimited service isn't unlimited service anymore, right or wrong?
It's right for a lot of the big carriers that you're familiar with, but our company has got truly unlimited talk, text, and web. We don't slow speeds down. We don't charge you after 1 or 2 gigabytes. It's truly unlimited, running on a nationwide network with roaming options if people want it.
And to get unlimited service, which many people use today in their business, you're going to spend $120, $130, $140. How do you compare?
We've got plans that start at $20 with rollover. And our truly unlimited talk, text, and web plan is $59 a month. Again, no limits on the data. And the exciting thing is you can earn, as a customer, you can earn free service by simply referring a few customers to us. That earns you free service potentially for the rest of your life.
Now, let me make sure I'm hearing this correctly. Without paying money, without being in the business, simply if you're a customer, at whatever the customer costs are, and I assume there are no deposits or that type of thing, that if you refer a few friends and they get service, you can earn free service for yourself?
Absolutely. It's, as you said, no contract, no deposit, no credit check. And we have many payment options. They can be auto-billed, auto-debited, phone in and make your payment over the phone, or, a lot of options on how to pay the bill. But truly unlimited talk, text, and web available to you for $59 a month, and if you refer a few friends, totally free.
Now, 2 other questions. You said roaming is an option. How much does it cost?
If you have unlimited nationwide roaming, it would be an additional $20 if you
So
if you need
you're
it.
still
But-
only $79.
correct. But you may not need it because we are on the nationwide network.
Okay. And the second thing is, do you only have dial-up phones that you have to carry in a suitcase, or do you actually have the latest and greatest Droid phones?
We have Android phones are the hottest selling items right now on our site, but we also cater to those people that all they have a need for is a simple flip phone. So you can go from, from the top of the line phone to a free phone.
And are you competitive on those prices?
Absolutely. The phones, most people don't realize this, but the phone prices you hear on television are tied into contracts. We don't have a contract. So our phone, you buy it, you own it, and you pay the real price. The way you can find out how competitive it is simply ask any of those big 3 or 4 companies, what is the price of the phone if I don't have to sign a contract? And they'll tell you many of those Android phones are $400.
There you go. All right, folks, you can get more information by dialing 1-800-299-8362, or just go to cpnlive.com and click on the icon that says Get Free Phone Service. Free. Free. I can afford free. Can you?
Free is good.
Thanks.